This is where my dreams are set in motion and begin to turn into reality. The ultimate place of an unforgettably exciting and life changing education. CEU is my choice, my future, my move.
Good morning. Before we proceed to our webinar, allow me to read the house rules. Please observe the following reminders during and after the session. Number one, during the webinar, the default setup is that all microphones are muted. You may unmute your microphone only when you are called or will participate in activity. Otherwise, please ensure your microphone is disabled. Two, we invite you to participate actively and derive insights, takeaways. Three, type in your questions and comments on the chat box. Moderators will see to it that your questions and comments are acknowledged. Four, participants' questions
Recording in
directed to the
progress.
speakers shall be collected and relayed to the speakers. Be respectful and courteous. Six, a Google form within the day. Thank you.
Good morning, dear Scholarians. Welcome to the webinar spearheaded by the Centro Escolar University Alumni Foundation Incorporated with the School of Education, Liberal Arts, Music, Social Work Alumni Chapter. Good morning, Sir Julius.
Good morning, Ma'am Sharon. This year, the theme is the core values of CEU. Character and excellence in government service, living out the core values of CEU.
Can you please enumerate to us, Sir Julius, what are the CEU core values?
Of CEU are V for valuing others, caring for them, and empowering them. A for accountability, integrity, and trustworthiness. L for lifelong learning as an organization. U for unity, teamwork, and loyalty. E for excellence in all endeavors. S for social responsibility as citizens of the Filipino nation and of the world.
Wow, thank you, Sir Julius, for recalling to us the CEU core values. You are really a true-blooded Escolarian. At this point, we would like to acknowledge the presence of all our participants, composed of alumni, our school deans and department heads, faculty members, and students from different schools and colleges. Okay, let us begin our webinar with an invocation to be led by Mr. Ariel J. Havaliana, the head of the Department of Social Sciences and Humanities. to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and CEU hymn by the CEU Singers Manila.
Let us put ourselves in the holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us offer this prayer for the success of this activity. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, that in your name we are gathered again as a caring community. We are grateful for many opportunities you send us to unite our community during this time of pandemic. In this assembly, you challenge us anew to respond to your invitation to participate, take responsibility, and commit ourselves to live the CEU core values. We ask you, O God of life and wisdom, increase our understanding of the principles of integrity and social responsibility. Inspire us to deepen our knowledge and translate to action the value of science and virtue. In the process of learning, make us see and appreciate the values and virtues instilled in us by the great founders of this institution. That of service, love for work, towards competence, and commitment to the task set before us. These values help us mold our character and become responsible members of our society. Help us find joy in the newness of these responsibilities, so that in the process we achieve the goals of this assembly. Make us ever trusting in your love and mercy, and believing in your mighty power. We will overcome whatever difficulty we encounter in the process. All this we ask you, O God, in your goodness and love. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Mayang magiliw, pelos ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingin, sa dagat at tundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong maghaw, kanilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang islat ng matawag mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan mamay di magdidilim. Lumalang araw na walang pagsita, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya ng patay mga api, ang mamatay ng nais mo.
Thank you, Mr. Havellana. And
mabuhay ka, mahal naming mamantasan, papuri sa dakilang sentro eskolar. Ika'y tampanan ng pag-ibig sa bayan, at agham na sa riyang matagumpay. Ang diwa ng iyong mga hilig, magmula sa puso't ibig, sabay-sabay na ipasisigawan. Mabuhay ka, dakilang sentro eskolar. Mabuhay ka, mahal naming pamantasan, papuri sa dakilang sentro eskolar. Ika'y dambana ng pag-ibig sa bayan. Sentro Escolar, Centro Escolar.
again, thank you, Mr. Havellana and CEU Singers Manila. At this point, May we call in the and dynamic president Alumni Foundation Incorporated, Dr. Paz I. Lucido, to deliver the opening remark.
Good morning. My warm greetings in behalf of the CEU Alumni Foundation Incorporated. First, to our CEU President, Dr. Maria Cristina Padolina, for all her support, encouragement, and inspiration. Its entire CEU community, the Dean of the School of Education, Liberal Arts, Music, and Social Work, Dr. Maria Rita Lucas, and the OIZ of the CEU AFI Salams Alumni Chapter, Dr. Lolita Pablo, the two lead persons in this webinar. And of course, to all the faculty of CEU and all alumni escolarians here and abroad. Once again, we are very happy that we continue to connect with each other and we continue to fulfill our abode mission to serve our beloved alma mater and especially our alumni. Big thank you to the wonders of high technology. We now have our official online communication network entitled Escolarian Alumni Real Time. As I said earlier, we envision not simply a chat venue. Our vision was to have an interactive, educational, practical exchange of information for our alumni worldwide. So from our chat group, we developed this simple practical network focusing on events or issues concerning our Escolarian alumni, happenings at the moment, yes, as in now, the millennial term real time, or what we call synchronous learning. We launched the first Escolarian Alumni Real Time on April 24, 2021, on understanding SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 vaccine, and we presented our very own CEU alumnus School of Medical Technology, Dr. Rudolph Doles Abiba. On August 28, we mounted our second alumni real time with the forum sponsored by the Science and Technology Alumni chapter on Journey to Wellness, Managing Your Mental Health at the Time of the Pandemic by our outstanding alumni from the School of Science and Psychology. This was followed by two interactive webinars on physical fitness done by the Manila Elementary and High School Alumni Chapter, followed by the Generosa de Leon Memorial College Alumni Chapter. And now we have our fifth Escolarian Alumni time titled Excellence in Government Service, Living Out the Core Values of CEU. Another distinguished Escolarian, the Honorable Chairperson of the Civil Service Commission, Alicia de la Rosa Bala, will be with us this morning. You might say this is a timely topic as the national election is coming, but this is not simply about politics. Rather, it is about our timeless Escolarian core principle of Scientia in Virtud as applied in government service. In detail, the guiding principles of our university, which we spell out through the first letters of the word values. Excellence is an ideal in many facets of human life. It applies to us teachers when we teach, as parents when we nurture our children for readiness in life, as professionals who apply the best in expertise and values for the service of society, And as the webinar theme suggests, excellence relates to human character as we now aim to strive beyond average standards and perform out of expectations of others, no longer settled in mere mediocrity or just living our lives to simply get by. I see this webinar as setting a higher bar to our lives and career, living life to the full, and making highest impact through a habit, attitude, and spirit that honor the best of what we are. As we enter a political season, may we also be more discerning on excellence as main criteria for our electoral choice. Governance of the people, for the people, and by the people means the burden and privileges of democratic self-rule, which is in our hands individually and communally. We have to be wise in our choice of leaders. The country is still entrenched in so many issues in politics as a platform for power, prestige, and wealth, not for statesmanship or governance. Democracy is so fragile, as evidenced in the past years by so many issues. And as our national face similar threats, we in the Philippines must continue to be flexible and transform. And the spirit of excellence can be a wise rule of thumb. If we don't excel, then we lose and deteriorate. And so, as I say, on with this truly remarkable seminar or webinar, even as I congratulate this early all our organizers and participants. Again, I emphasize that, that these presentations are in keeping with the vision of Scholarian Alumni Real Time, CEU alumni, steadfast beacon of hope in the service of our Filipino people amidst these uncertain times. Gloria a ti, noble centro escolar.
Thank you, Dr. Lucido, for your message of felicitations and heartwarming message. Moving on, I'm honored to introduce to you, the President and Chief Academic Officer of Centro Escolar University, the woman who inspire and empower us, Dr. Maria Cristina D. Padulina. Let's give her a virtual applause.
Good morning to everyone. Greetings of peace and joy. Greetings most especially to our invited speaker, our own Escolarian, our alumna, Chairperson Alicia De La Rosa Bala. Good morning as well to our alumni, headed by the very dynamic President, Dr. Paz Lucido, and our Escolarians from all over the world, our students as well, our faculty, and I'm sure our non-teaching staff who are all here with us today. We really should congratulate and thank our alumni. Our Alumni Foundation Incorporated, AFI, headed by Dr. Lucido, for the very active participation of our alumni in putting forward the mission and vision of the university. They have such very good activities that they have lined up, and the connection that they always make with our colleges and our students and our faculty is really very, very strong. Sorry. A very strong connection. And we really owe that to the officers of our Alumni Foundation. The theme for this for today's activity is really very, very important. Character excellence is one of the pillars of the strategic plan of the university. And we know that we cannot diminish the importance of character in the success of individuals and in organizations. We can see that in the success rather of Maria Ressa, the Nobel Prize winner for 2021, our very own Maria Ressa. She is a very talented person, but what has really moved her forward is her character, her steadfastness, her passion for truth, her advocacy for truth in support of democracy and peace, not just in our country, but all over the world. She would not have gotten this far. She would not have gotten that Nobel Peace Prize if it were not for her character, if she only had her knowledge and skills. So we're very glad to get this news about Maria Ressa, and we share the entire Filipino nation, of course, shares her success. We know, thank you very much, Dr. Lucido, for connecting character excellence to our philosophy, Ciencia y Virtud. We have always maintained, as contained in our philosophy, that science, gives action to our virtues, to our values. On the other hand, our values gives direction to our science. That those two should never be separated. Otherwise, they really complement each other. They cannot be separated, because to separate them, they would lose the power of the other. They work synergistically, and they work for success of individuals as well as success of nations. And in fact, lately, we have pointed out to our deans and our academic heads the framework for 2030 of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. In their framework, they put knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values intertwined to form competence. Before, we would equate competence to knowledge and skills alone. In their view, competence must include attitudes and values and cannot only consist of knowledge and skills. And it is this competence that will guide the action of individuals. So we're very glad that all of these affirm our philosophy, Ciencia y Virtud. And we really thank our founders for giving us such a very good guiding light that guides our actions and inspires the activities that we all do in Centro Escolar. So thank you very much, Afi, and thank you to the School of Education, Liberal Arts, Music and Sports, headed by Dean Rita Lucas, for having this as your theme, character excellence in government service. Although I'm sure it's not just in government service that character excellence is important, but in any kind of service, especially service that we offer to the Lord in return for the talents and the many blessings that He gives to all of us. So again, to all of you organizers of this conference or this seminar, webinar, and to our speaker, thank you very much to this activity that you have led. Thank you.
Especially in these trying times, that we should be conscious about character and competence as
To introduce our honorable guest speaker, may we call in the very dynamic and energetic Dean of the School of Education, Liberal Arts, Music, Social Work, Dr. Maria Rita Dacanay Lucas.
Thank you, Sharon. Good morning, everyone. It is both an honor and a pleasure to introduce our speaker in today's webinar. Our speaker, as already mentioned, is currently the chairperson of the Central Human Resource Agency of the government, the Civil Service Commission. This commission is constitutionally mandated to promote morale, efficiency, integrity, responsiveness, progressiveness, and courtesy in the civil service. Prior to her appointment, she was the Undersecretary for Policy and Plans of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, which she has served for the past 39 years. She also served from 2012 to 2015 as Deputy Secretary General for the ASEAN Sociocultural Community Development Department in Jakarta, Indonesia, which covers the sectors of civil service, science and technology, health, women, youth, social welfare and development, disaster management, among others. She was given recognition by the ambassadors of member countries for her contributions to ASEAN at the conclusion of her term. At the DSWD, chairperson, our speaker, started as a training officer back in 1976 and worked her way up the organizational ladder, holding the positions of social welfare specialist, division chief, director, regional director, and assistant secretary. Entrusted with critical projects and initiatives, she served as project director of the Social Welfare and Development Reform Project, Performance Governance System Balanced Scorecard Project, and the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction. She also chaired the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council, the National Committee on Filipino Family, and the Subcommittee on Social Protection of the Rights of Women and Children. She was instrumental in the creation of a subcommittee on social protection under the Social Development Committee of the National Economic and Development Authority. In 2004, she was DSWD's first Best Manager awardee, and in 2012, she was awarded Outstanding Career Executive Service Officer by the Career Executive Service Board. She was appointed as the country's first child rights representative to the ASEAN Commission for the Promotion and the Protection of the Rights of Women and Children in 2010. She was also first elected head of the first session of the Commission on Social Development, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific in 2008. Her first name actually means noble. And true to this name, she has and is serving the country well. Very proud to introduce to you and present to you our very own alumna of the social work program, our speaker, Honorable Alicia de la Rosa Bala.
Maraming salamat din Maria Rita Lucas of the School of Elams, Dr. Maria Cristina Padolina, the President of CEU, Dr. Paz Lucido, the President of the CEU Alumni Foundation Incorporated, Dr. Lolit Pablo, fellow social worker, who is the OIC President of the CEU CELAM's chapter, all the deans and heads of the different schools, faculty and teaching personnel, CEU, all alumni from all over the world, and of course, including the Philippines. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat at ako'y nagagalak at ako ang naging resource person nyo ngayong umaga. I must tell you that I'm really very honored and I'm very humbled by inviting me to be the speaker for this webinar. You know, the first time I read the letter of invite, I was excited. And the first thing that came to mind was, how can I best convey to all participants, how did I live out the core values of CEU by virtue of being a civil servant for the past 45 years. So if you go back, I entered CEU in 1968 and I graduated in 1972. So it means it's like coming back after 49 years living at the university that I love most. But let me just tell you, start in addition to what Ma'am Rita made mention about who am I as a person, my beginnings as Alicia. And thank you, Dr. Rita, for telling me that the Alicia name means noble. But did you know that my parents, all the names of their kids, are named after either movie actors or Disney or character like Alice in Wonderland. My two brothers, Rogelio and Jaime, are all namesake of former actors during their time. And then my sister was named Shirley. Actually, in Filipino, they call her Estrellita because of Shirley Temple. And then my sister Diana, the song Diana. So, I think my parents probably at that time were really into movies and characters like this. But I was born in Vigan, Ilocos Sur, but I grew up in a barrio in another town where my mother originated, that is Santa, Ilocos Sur. And I'm the youngest of 5 children. And my parents, my father was a war veteran. He survived the death march from Bataan to Capas Tarlac. And when he died, he was a forest ranger. And my mother was a full-time housewife. So why am I sharing my beginnings as a person? Because it aligns with the values of CEU. I distinctly remember there are 5 general rules of my parents when we were growing up, how to become a good citizen and as a good person. 1, God-fearing. Everything revolves around, the presence of the Almighty. The second is that we should be a woman or a man for others, caring. And then third is about we have to be honest and trustworthy as persons. And then the fourth is everything that we do, we should do the best that we can. And then the last is about the integrity. Ang naalala ko parating sinasabi ng tatay ko, kasi lalo na siya nasa forestry, alam niyo kung gusto kong yumaman, madali. Kasi being a forest guard and a forest ranger, the forest, the logging, etc. But he opted not to because he said, I don't want to feed my family by virtue of, bribes given to me. And that stick to my mind. So that when I graduated from high school, I had all the best. I am a product of public school system, by the way, from elementary to high school. I started even in a community school, elementary and high school. And when I was already in high school, of course, di ba, meron yung ang panawag doon parang scrapbook ba, na meron kang, ano yung gusto mo pag ikaw ay mag-pursue ng higher education. And I must admit that social work as a profession was never in my mind because I only knew I wanted to become a doctor because most of my relatives are in the medical profession and in engineering and all that stuff. And neither I heard about Central Escolar University. Pardon about my ignorance at the time. Sabi ko nga, laki ako ng probinsya. Kumbaga, promdi ako. Hindi ko naririnig. Ang mga naririnig ko lang talaga noon ay UP kasi that's where my brothers studied. UST because that's where my sister studied too. And then my other relatives, UE, FEU. But never in the horizon of social work, Bachelor's of Science in Social Work, and Centro Escolar. So my journey, when I reached college, so as a student, I took the exams for UP, but unfortunately, being wanted to be in a medical course, they have a quota. And hindi naman sinabi nung mga kuya ko na huwag ka munang magkuta. Pwede ka namang mag-exam na iba pa para makapasok ka lang. But anyway, siguro nga God has other plans for me. And before I knew it, my brother was the one who enrolled me at Centro Escolar University with the course of BSSW. And so I said, what is Bachelor of Science in Social Work is all about? And then he told me, talk to your manang Cherry, the former girlfriend, and she became also his wife, no? So, and then, and I said, saan yung Centro Escolar University? Saan yun? Sabi niya, maganda yung school na yun. Hindi lang natin naririnig, pero it's highly recommended for the course in social work. At saka magaling daw yung mga teachers doon. So, sabi ko, okay. Pero I must tell you that it took some time before I adjusted and accepted that I'm enrolled. But thanks to Dr. Minerva Laudito, who really motivated me and talked me out and said, Alice, I think this is the best course for you. I can see that you have the potential of being a very good social worker. Sabi ko, hindi ko nga po alam kung ano yung social work na course. So, but you see, I would say that she was the one who really made me think what social work is all about, and she encouraged me. So almost every day she would check on me, trying to find out how I was, especially during the first few months, and then to the extent that she was even offering me like, Alice, why don't you take up the exams for a scholarship program so that you can become a scholar? And so I said, okay. Pero sa totoo lang po, nung nag-take ako when I took the exams for that scholarship, wala sa puso ko, wala sa isip ko. Kasi parang sabi ko lang, sige nga, baka, kasi alam ko pag maging scholar ka, baka mahirap. Hindi naman ako ganun kagaling. So, but lo and behold, I made it. and I was a full scholar for the last 4 years, and this is the Mercedes Gamatero Scholarship. So thank you, Centro Escolar University. So now, what did I learn from being a student of Centro, and how did I, what are the values? And Sir Julius, thank you, because I thought that the values that you have enumerated were the very core values that I've learned from Centro Escolar University. But of course, you talk about valuing, and I think it's about the spirituality, the care for each other was highlighted in that. And then yung accountability. I know that when we were students, I was a student leader. I was a member of the student council. And what I like about the university, they gave us all the opportunities to develop our own leadership qualities. One, they gave us a course or a seminar on leadership training, and we were brought to a place, I forgot where, but we even had there was even an accident. I think even the drivers and we, the student leaders, were so happy that the driver of the bus, the second bus where I was seated, bumped into the rear of the first bus carrying the other leaders, and there were a number of the student leaders who were brought to the hospital because the impact was so really that strong. But at the end of the day, we were able to. So that was the first exposure to becoming, how to develop a leader in us as young students. And the second one, I think, as you must have heard that 1968-72, that was the time when the activism, the first quarter storm was already brewing. And and this is what I must admit. While the Centro Escolar University was kind of perceived to be conservative, but did you know that we were allowed to attend teach-ins, if you may, they call it before, to talk about activism inside the premises of Centro Escolar? Would you believe it? I mean, looking back, but what really caught my attention was the management of the then management of CEU did not stop us from attending this. And they came to the premises of the school, but they gave us the option whether we join these groups or not. I did not join any particular group, but I'm one with them about the advocacies. There was once or twice I joined also the rallies. But at the end of the day, I think what makes me thankful about that kind of environment, because it gave me the option, the discernment, how best I can make my own exposure to this to my profession as a social worker. And then the third that I like most about Centro Escolar University is about accountability, and I would like to link it with the social responsibility, because if you are accountable for your actions, you will also accountable for the Filipino that you will be serving. And one of the rules then at the time was, when you wear your uniform, the uniform then at the time was a skirt, blouse and skirt with a white with pink piping, and then you know already that the skirt was really way down below the knee. But I had to, sinusukbit ko para medyo lumiit. Ayun, hindi siya ganong haba, hindi dahil sa uso noon ang mini, pero I have to ride in a jeepney. Kung mahaba yung skirt mo, matatapa ka kasi you have to run after jeep, di ba? Kasi dati, that's the only means of transportation nung estudyante ako dyan. So, kailangan makipag-agawan ka, lalo na paglabasan ng school or pagpasok ng eskwela. Maraming hindi lang mga estudyante ang kalaban mo, pati ang mga empleyado. Okay. So, one time, nasita ako. Kasi nga, hindi ko pa naibaba yung skirt ko kasi tinupi ko eh. Kasi kabababa ko lang sa jeep. Sabi doon, I forgot the one in charge. Sabi niya, Miss De La Rosa, you are not in your uniform. Sabi ko, I'm in my uniform, ma'am. No, because your skirt was already above your knee. Ay, sabi ko, sorry, ma'am, sabi na ba ako? I had to rationalize. It's not because I want to be following the skirt na maiksi. Hindi. Dahil nga for convenience, kasi I'm taking a ride. I mean, a jeepney ride. So, mahirap talaga tumakbo pag medyo mahaba yung skirt. So, bakit ko sinasabi itong experience na ito? Because this is about following rules. There are certain rules that we really need to follow because this is part of your being a student. You have to be accountable to certain rules that are set by the school. And being one, and I thought that was on hindsight, it gives you a sense that there is a purpose for everything. It's not, rules are made not because it curtails certain rights, but rather rules are made to make sure that people are following certain structures. But said structures can also be flexible when the time comes for it, because it's for a reason and not for anything else. Okay, so to me that was one of the learnings that I've gotten. And then yung sa school naman, yung sa academics na ito, one of the most outstanding learning, and I thank all my professors, College of Social Work at that time, the School of Social Work at that time. I think they are the pioneers of the profession of social work. Dr. Nair, Dr. Leonora de Guzman, Miss Paras, Emma Paras, and there were other more. Okay, these are the people that I remember right now. So I hope you don't mind, because 49 years, there are instances when your senior moments come. Okay, and they really allowed us to also question theories, and to discern what are the theory in practice. And what's good about it, the course provided you to go on field practicum. May field practice yan. And my first was in casework, and then I was assigned in a national hospital, and I was part of a team, medical team, doctors, nurses, psychologists, discussing about, and then of course my field supervisor. And one of the things that I really challenge is about the relationship, when you're in a family, if parents would not disclose some information just to make the family more intact, because this is a case of a child who fell from a tree, and then a leg was broken, and then it was distraughting on the part of the parents, especially the father who was at work, and the mother was the full-time. And of course, when I made the presentation, I said, I do believe that there are reasons why some information are not disclosed. It's not because you want to keep that information, but it's something that the mother made a decision. And to me, parenting, I said, there are certain things that individual, parents have to make a decision without the participation of one of them. It's not, to me, I said, it's not something that is a cardinal rule that in making a decision, there would always be both mother and father. There are circumstances that allows probably, and nawindang yung aking field supervisor. Sabi niya, why did you say that? I mean, it's about relationship. It's about human relations. What makes one as long as it does not violate, the right of a parent to make the best decision for their child. I think that would be the. And I must tell you that my field supervisor was accepting of that, and of course, my I was supported by our teacher in psychology about this. So, why am I saying this? Because it gives you that when you do a case analysis, you have to make sure that all the other um, sciences that would support a pertinent theory should be at work. Why did we have all this social work, psychology, human relations, logic, and even social graces? I mind you, I can't forget Dr. Ayu Yao. She was, kahit hindi kami a candidate ng Miss Philippines or Miss, alam mo, pinatatayo kami para lang, naalala ko lang ha, lalagay kami ng libro sa ulo para lang maglakad. Yung mga ganon. So, it gives us a systems approach towards problem solving and decision making. To me, the very core, because it has to be there's a system to follow. It's not something hit and miss, but it has to be methodical and it has to be evidence based. When you do the case analysis, and and one of the things is, as a professional, it gave us a differentiated approach in addressing issues, not something that is boxed. Hindi siya de cajon. To me, that was one of the best among the best, and probably because the curriculum of Centro Escolar was very balanced, because it gives us all the facets of subject matters that would develop the entirety of a person, the holistic development of a person, especially the character, while they were teaching concepts, theories, and all that stuff, but the application is very much woven into it in the different activities that they allowed us to participate and be part of it. And one of the things that I think also gave me where I am right now is it also aligns with the values that my parents taught me when I was young. And it deepens, the character that need to be preserved and the need to be nurtured. It has to be nurtured. And thank you, Centro Escolar, because you were part in the nurturing the character in me that made me who I am today. And as mentioned earlier about the values, I must say that I must have imbibed all of this. And now I'm going now to my journey. Before that, ang question, di ba ang sabi ko, hindi ko narinig ang kurso ng BSSW. Lalong hindi ko rin naririnig noon ang Centro Escolar University. Siguro ang tanong nyo, did you have any regrets taking up bachelor's degree in social work and enrolling at Centro Escolar University? My answer is resounding no. God has plans for me to enter the Centro Escolar University. And thank you, Centro Escolar University. I will never have enough, words are not enough to express my gratitude, but deep in my heart, you are part of my professional development and where I am right now. So my journey as a public servant, immediately after graduation, I did not enter public service. I joined an NGO run by the Good Shepherd Sisters. The last place where I had my field placement when I was a community organizer. Siyempre, bata pa ako, gusto ko talagang pumunta, sa community. And I was assigned then at the most depressed urban communities in Quezon City, and that is Barangay Escopa, comprising of 4 barangays yan, no? 4 districts yan. So 4 years ako doon before I joined government. Pero sa totoo lang, it was also an accident. I was not really applying for a position in government. I was applying for a position as a training officer in an international organization. And the one who interviewed me was the director of a training and publication service of the DSW. Ang sabi niya sa akin, Iha, hindi ka pa pwede dito. Sabi ko, bakit po? Kasi yung karanasan mo bilang training officer, ang kausap mo yung mga communities, etc. Ang sabi ko naman, nakalagay po doon sa advertisement, wala naman pong sinabing kung ano yung experience ng training ang hinahanap. Ang sabi lang, training, experience in training and all that stuff. So anyway, to make the story short, she offered me to accept a vacancy at the Department of Social Welfare and Development for a training position, training officer, and that is part of the history. So fast forward, salamat dun sa na sinabi lahat yung pinagdaanan ko, 39 years with government. I never look back whether did I regret. No, why? After entering DSWD in 1976, of course there was an adjustment that I had to make, because when you are working as a community organizer, there are no structures, you know. You develop your own plan for the day, your programs for your communities, your groups in the urban poor. But in this case, merong mga struktura, di ba? You have to report at 8, at 8 to 5, merong kang mga rules, etc. And na-realize ko that being a public servant is both a calling and a privilege. Let me start being a privilege. And I quote Simon Peres. I think you must have heard the former Prime Minister of Israel when he said, I believe that the public service is a privilege that must be based on moral foundations. End of quote. So that's about character excellence in public service. On the other hand, why did I say that it's a calling? Because I always believe, and I do remember one of the biblical statements, many are called, but few are chosen. And to make it more dramatic about why public service is as a calling other than what the Bible said, Jack Lew is an American leader, and I quote, I think there's no higher calling than public service, which has a chance to make a difference in people's lives and improve the world. So those were the words that that really inspired me to retain being a public service as in public service. And did you know that when I started public service, so that everybody knows, and I'm sure some of the alumni who are attending right now are also in public service. The first thing that you do is you have an oath of office. And if I may just read, like for example, my name, your address, and then the position you're being appointed to. And it says hereby solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my ability. So when you talk about the best, it's about excellence. The duties of my present position and all others that may hereafter hold under the Republic of the Philippines, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. So it's about patriotism, loyalty to the country, not to the leaders. That I will obey the laws, the legal orders and decrees promulgated by the constituted authorities of the Republic of the Philippines, and that I impose this obligation upon myself voluntarily, okay, without mental reservations or purpose of evasion. So the moment you enter public service, you are bound to, to abide by this, your oath. And take note, the last para, so help me God. So in everything that we do, that there is something that is high, a higher level that we owe it to, and that is our Almighty God. I mean, depending on the religion, I mean, our Muslim brothers and sisters, it's Allah. And so, assalamu alaikum to those who are our Muslim brothers. And another one that struck me, because I tell you, I don't know anything about government service rules when I entered until I joined them. Did you know that there are 8 rules? No. And this is by virtue of a law prescribing the code of conduct and ethical standards of public officials and employees. So can you believe it? There's even a law that until now it's still existing, and this is Republic Act number 6713. So what are this? So that you can see that there is also an alignment of what the values of CEU is espousing. 1, commitment to public interest. Okay. So I think the very statement, commitment to public interest, it simply means that uphold the public interest over and above your personal interest as a So that's already very clear. And then resources and power should be used efficiently, effectively, honestly, and economically to avoid wastage in public funds and resources. So that's the first. The second is about professionalism. Performs and discharge their duties with the highest degree of excellence, intelligence, and skills. So utmost devotion and dedication to duty. Discourage wrong perceptions of their roles as dispenser or peddlers of undue patronage. In fact, you're not even allowed, if you like, for example, in my case, I'm a chairperson, or even when I was a director of NCR DSWD, I never recommended any of my relatives for appointment in whatever, even I'm not the appointing authority. Because I always told them before, you submit your application and you will be hired based on your credentials, not on my recommendation. Okay. And then number 3, justness and sincerity. So this is about remain true to all people, to the people at all times. And this is about non-discrimination, regardless of anyone, especially for the poor and the disadvantaged, and respect the rights of others. Refrain from doing acts contrary to existing laws, morals, good customs, public policy, public order, public safety, and public interest. And then a 4th, political neutrality. So what does it mean, political neutrality? It simply means that there's no discrimination regardless of party affiliation or preference, and provide service to anyone. When I was with DSWD, whether you're a relative of a rebel or what, as long as they are in need, we don't distinguish. Okay. And then, so that's what we call the political neutrality. And then 5, of course, when you talk about responsiveness to the public, ibig sabihin lamang po yung extend prompt and courteous and respect. And I think Dr. Rita mentioned earlier already the role of the civil service about promoting justness, etc. And then we should be transparent in our policies so that everybody knows what are the policies, the programs that are accessible and available for the Filipino people to avail of. And we should simplify the systems and procedures for accessing said services. Now, the next number 6 code of conduct, nationalism and patriotism. So I think that's very clear about loyalty to the country, and then patriotism, at least yung promoting the use of locally produced goods. But I think you and I know that there are a number of our goods that have imported materials for us to make to use to produce a product. And then number 7 is commitment to democracy. I think the president, Dr. Padolina, made mention about democracy, and this is we have to uphold the Constitution and put loyalty to the country, and then the principle of accountability for any actions that we have taken as civil servants. We have to be straightforward. And then, of course, simple living. When it says simple living, it's adherence to appropriate to their positions and to income. So how did in the government, out of this 8, we translated it, we collapsed it, what we call the public service values. This is a shared public service values: patriotism, integrity, excellence, and spirituality. And I just wanted you to know that for the first time in a Philippine development plan, it contains a subchapter under the Philippine Development Plan 2017-2022 about public service values program for government. And to me, this is one of the victories of the Civil Service Commission, because we thought that this is something that should prevail among civil servants, regardless of your positions. And this is the first, and this is also the first time in any document since I've been working in government that also emphasizes the critical role of civil service in national development. Because when we speak of civil service and we talk about national development plans, the frontliners to implementing these plans are the government people. And so therefore, when you talk about the core values of patriotism and nationalism, integrity, this is one of the things that I wanted to share with you. Instances when there are financial offers in exchange of, favors. Okay, one, when I was a director, there was one elected official. She asked me, how can I help my constituents in this city? And I said, well, there are also an array of programs of the TSWD that you can support: daycare, livelihood, etc. So in short, what caught her attention was about daycare. And then after our meeting, she asked me, Direct, ano ba ang pwede ko namang itulong sa opisina mo? Sabi ko, alam niyo ho, tuwing merong disaster sa Metro Manila, kasi sa Metro Manila parang almost every day, iba-ibang disasters. May sunog, may bombing. Nung panahon ko, may bombing, merong baha, etc. Sabi ko kasi yung aming ginagamit na pag-haul ng mga relief goods yung aming mga ambulance sa aming mga centers. Sabi niya, so kailangan namin ng sasakyan exclusive for bringing these goods to where the victims of survivors of that disasters. So sabi niya, is 500,000 enough? Ang sabi ko sa kanya, I don't have any idea how much it would cost a truck. So in short, after a week or so, nagbigay siya ng 500,000 in check. So, pinaposit yun sa opisina yun. So, I asked my team, sige, tingnan nyo kung magpa-canvas na kayo, bids and awards na tayo, yung awarding. And then, lo and behold, 2 months after, the daughter came to our office and she was already telling us that she will support the daycare program with certain amount of in the millions. And before I accepted, I said, can you count the number of daycare centers in this city and the number of sessions and the number of daycare children are accommodated? And that amount that was given was so huge. And the amount that it would only require to fund the program would only less than 1% of that amount being offered to the SWD. And so I said, tell the chief of staff that we will only receive this much. And lo and behold, you know what? The daughter talked to my staff. Ang sabi daw niya bakit? Magkano pa ba ang gusto ng boss nyo? Alam mo, nung nakarating sa akin yon, ang ibig sabihin, akala niya yung binigay niyang 500,000, binulsa ko. Nung narinig ko yon without any second thought, I called for my budget officer and I said, the 500,000 we have not spent it yet, yeah, right? Because there's no bidding yet. Yes, ma'am. Okay, issue a check and return that money to this person. We don't need her money in exchange of a bigger amount because she might thought that I already pocketed that amount. And this person, she never expected that I will do that. And even the chief of staff resigned because of that. And so I said, ang sabi ko sa aking mga kasamahan sa pagsisilbi, hindi nabibili ang ating mga pangalan. And the second is the same. There's another one. Gusto niya daycare. Sabi ko, hindi ko alam kung bakit. Kasi yung gusto niyang bilhin, yung isang gusto niyang bilhin mga libro. Ang mura-mura ng libro tapos ang laki-laki. So hindi ko alam kung paano. Anyway, yung isa naman, daycare naman. Silya, liliit. It would cost a table at 50,000. Sabi ko, magkano yung ating di ba wala pa yatang 5,000 yan na. Kahoy lang yan, tsaka 4 lang na silya. Kinausap ko din, yung gusto mag-pondo. Sabi ko, baka hindi nyo alam, ganito hong kalaki. Yung amin hong binibili para sa mga daycare dito sa Metro Manila, ganito lang hong halaga. Ganun ba? Of course, sabi niya, ganun ba? Kunyari, hindi niya alam, pero alam niya yon. So, pati yun, hindi ko yun tinatanggap. Ito na. Pangatlo, nung ako na Civil Service Commission, okay. There's also another elected official who came to my office. It's about appointment. Until now, I'm narrating this to you. I still have goosebumps. Why? You know, the temerity to tell me in front of my face na magkano ba? Chair Bala. Alam mo, sa gulat ko, sabi ko, alam niyo po, hindi po nabibili ang aming pong mga desisyon. Hindi po ang aming mga abogado po dito sa Civil Service Commission until I joined them in 2015. I never heard, not a single one of our lawyers have received any money in consideration of a favorable decision of the commission. Ako, parang sa akin, that was the test of my character, a public servant. Because ito nangyari, wala akong kasama sa kwarto. Umalis na yung aking chief of staff, umalis na rin yung mga tauhan niya. Kami na lang, umalis na siya, pabalik na ako sa bigla niya akong bubulangan ng ganun. Alam mo, talagang nanghina ako kasi meron pa, totoo pa rin pala na meron pa rin ganong mga tao. Pero ako, sasabihin ko na, eto dahil sa inyo, Central Escolar University, dahil sa aking mga magulang, you trained me to be strong and be firm in believing that character makes a person. No amount of money will make you better as a person. Kaya ako, ang sabi ko lang, honesty is the best policy, integrity that counts. Even sa pinag-usapan yung bids and awards, no? I was also a chair of the bids and awards of DSWD. And usually, bago yung bidding, there's such a thing as a pre-bid conference with the interested bidders. And there was one or two bidders who said, bakit masyado kayong mahigpit? Doon sa ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, parang okay lang sa kanila. Ang sabi ko lang, isa lang sinabi ko. Kasi sabi ko, we follow the rules of the procurement law. Kung sa tingin nyo mas maganda kayong makipag-transact doon sa mga sinasabi nyong ahensya, go ahead. We will not exchange the integrity of our process because there is a law that governs procurement process. And from that time on, I even said, and it was adopted by the agency, that we should not solicit anything at all from mga bidders or those winning bidders during our events, Christmas party, yung mga pang-program, pang-prizes. If we want out of pocket, we will contribute for our mga prizes. So ako, sa akin is a consistent display of your own character, even nobody is watching you. Consistent. So ito, nakikita ko, and then yung excellence. I think passion for work, and then passion for innovation. One of the things, gusto ko lang i-share yung, hindi naman ganong like, nung director ako, meron kaming tinatawag na assistance in individual crisis situation. Ito yung mga nire-refer kung kailangan ng pera para pampagamot, pag-uwi sa probinsya, yung balik probinsya, etc. And then, nakita ko, puros cheque. Sabi ko, cheque, 500 pesos, i-check natin. Yung mga mahihirap, wala naman silang ID pagpunta nila sa bangko. O, di ba? And then, meron pang clearing period. Hindi naman nila may cash kaagad. So, sabi ko, kausapin natin ang COA, baka pwedeng mag-cash advance tayo para yung mga halagang 500 hanggang 3,000, pwede na nating i-cash, lalo na kung kailangan nila talaga na pambili ng gamot, etc. And until now, the DSWD has adopted and even increased the cash advance for our social workers to be able to dispense financial assistance at the right time, at the right place, and for the right purpose. So yun yung yung sa tingin ko, yung excellence, etc. And then yung sinabi nga, yung ating values. Kaya nga when Dr. Lolit asked me, meron po ba kayong PowerPoint? Ang sabi ko sa kanya, even before she asked me whether I have a PowerPoint presentation, I said, I wanted na, since ang title natin is character, ano ba yun? Excellence, character, in our
In government service.
Sorry, biglang nawala yung aking kopya ng program. Character excellence in government service, living out CEU, the core values of CEU. So yun yung aking mga experience, and then yung integrity, yung passion and compassion goes together. It's not being passionate about your work, but you have to have a heart. Oo, kaya nga I introduce also in the Civil Service Commission yung malasakit. Kaya meron kaming tagline, malasakitism. Okay. And now, my thoughts about the incoming national elections come 2022. What are the characteristics of a leader should be, considering worthy of our votes in 2022? I think I have already mentioned about the core values, the code of conduct and ethical standards. But I agree with Dr. Padolina and Dr. Luciri about good governance and integrity. And then one of the things that I would like to see in is a servant leader, a person who would uphold people first before his or her groups or even family's interest. And then, of course, we have to be very, very discerning in terms of the platforms that they're presenting to us. And we have also to look at their performance even before they're running for these positions. And they should also encourage diversity of thoughts and perspectives, inclusive, in short, gender sensitive, and respect for human rights, or uphold human rights. And then they should create a culture of trust amongst each other, among Filipinos, and promote a sense of community and empowering and gender sensitive. So as a final note, I would encourage especially the young, the students who are right now who are not yet registered, since there is an extension for voters registration. I would encourage you to exercise one of the fundamental rights enshrined in our constitution, the right to vote, or the suffrage. We have fought, especially for the women's rights, suffrage. We should take this opportunity to make our voices that to be heard, and I think we should. Our country needs everyone to contribute and be part of our history at this time, to make a difference, to build and rebuild, or build back better, to a new normal that is better normal for everyone, and no one is left behind. So in closing, I'd like to quote from Mark Twain, and it says here, and this is always one of the, I love it. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe border, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. Thank you. Maraming salamat po for sharing with you my own journey as a public servant and how I live the core values of CEU till now. And I'm very proud to be an alumna of CEU, and I'm prouder when I heard that a number of your courses have been accredited by ASEAN University Network, because that was one of the areas that I was responsible for when I was the ASEAN Deputy Secretary General for Socio-Cultural Community, because under it is also education, and I had the opportunity to be with the university heads in ASEAN. So I'm really so proud of you, Centro Escolar, Dr. Padolina, and your team, to all the faculty, the deans, and the heads of the different schools. You're really expanding, kasi nung araw ang alam ko lang social work, accountancy, dentistry, you really excelled in that area, medtech. But now you're even into law, justice, med school, hospitality, nursing, and etc. So a big clap to all of you. So proud of being a CEU alumna. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you to our honorable
Thank you very
speaker,
much. Beautiful.
Chairperson Alicia De La Rosa Bala of the Civil Service Commission, for sharing her experiences as a student in her professional life, for the living with the core value. Indeed, public service is a public and the people. So we proceed to the open forum. We will now have a intermission number by Miss Lara Villas, is a CEU alumna from the Conservatory of Music, former president of CEU Manila Singers, and member of the CEU Music Ensemble. Let us give a virtual round of applause to Miss Lara Villas.
Isang tinig ang aking narinig, minsa'y nanaginip, buong mundo'y umaawi. Isang tinig, pag-asa ang hatid, ang musika'y batid sa bawat puso at isip. Ikaw at ako, tayo ay Pilipino, kilala sa talino at yaga. Isang dugo, isang lahi at musika, taglay ay bukas na puno ng pag-asa. Isang himig ang aking narinig, pag-asa ang hatid sa bawat puso at isip. Isang awit, handog at dalangin, sa bagong bayaning mataas ang adhikain. Ikaw at ako, tayo ay Pilipino, taas noo, karangalan sa mundo. Isang dugo, isang lahi at musika, ang inalay ko sa iyo, ilang bansa.
Thank you, Miss Villas. Salamat sa iyong napakahusay na pag-awit at tunay namang napapanahon ang iyong ang mensahe na iyong kinanta sa amin ngayon. Now at this point, we will entertain questions. There are some who type in their questions. So, for our open forum, yung iba po pwedeng
We have 300. We have 342.
Okay. So meron dito si Ma'am Catherine Pabintuan. Hello po. You may want to ask your question personally to our guest speaker, Honorable Bala, ma'am. You may unmute and open your cam.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Sharon. Although nag-post na ako kay Ma'am Bala on her direct message, no, but I would also appreciate to ask her personally, and at the same time to greet her. This is our second time to be together. Remember, alumni natin, and it's nice to be with you again. Ang tanong ko, Ma'am, alam mo naman, medyo may pagka-activist din tayo, no? Alam mo, produkto rin ako ni Ma'am De Guzman. And she taught us how to lobby, no, in Congress during at that time. So yung tanong ko lang, with the issue that the DOH is now confronted or facing, with as well as some corruptions no, that is happening in our government, and this is massive now. What is the stand of civil service on this matter? How can we be assured that integrity and honesty will be returned back to the government? Now, I know you also made mention na yung loyalty, no? At saka yung tinatawag nyo rin pong yung accountability to your action. With the hearing that is now happening also in the Senate at saka Congress, the President himself repents his cabinet members no to speak and at the same time to say something about their work. Ano po ngayon ang stand ng civil service on this matter?
Okay. Salamat, Kathy. That's really a very straightforward question. Okay. Ang sabi ko nga sa iyo kanina, for the first time, in a Philippine Development Plan, we included the public service values. So dito yung papel ng Civil Service Commission. Kaya nga kami, even during the start of the pandemic, we refocused our values program. Ang title namin is Public Service Values Program in Times of Adversities. So ang sa tingin namin, that's where we are coming at this point. So yung tanong mo how we are kasi remember our mandate is towards being the central human resource management in the bureaucracy. So the limitations of our coverage is non-presidential appointees. Okay, so we are covering the first level. Ito yung mga trades and crafts and administrative positions. And the second are the technical positions, meaning those who are not, that would include executive managerial positions who are not appointed by the president. So dito yung limitations ng civil service when it comes to, and since those people that are involved right now are presidential appointees, this is not something that I'd like to comment on. Let the other appropriate authorities to handle those. So yun lang yung masasabi ko. Ang amin is yung public service values program is for all, and there's still this the code of conduct as mentioned, and it's still existing. That law is never amended, so that is something that everyone should adhere to. Thank you. I hope that that answers your question, not directly pertaining to the cases that are being discussed right now, but the very constitutional body that is in charge of looking at corruption per se as cases is the Office of the Ombudsman. In the case of the civil service, because we also perform as a constitutional body what we call quasi-judicial functions, but these are limited to administrative cases, both disciplinary and non-disciplinary actions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Pamintuan and Chairperson Bala. So another question from Miss Leia Yabut. The filing of candidacies deadline was yesterday. How can these pre-election activities impact from this period up to the election or campaign period?
I think one of how do we,
or government service.
okay. I think one of the things I'd like to advocate for is that even schools should be part of this campaign to educate, the young of their right to vote, and then what are the processes that they need to do. And one of the questions that that come our way is that how come there are already some activities campaigning? Unfortunately, the law under the election code, it does not prohibit campaigning before the election campaign. So sa tingin ko kailangan natin yung bang campaign for the young voters to discern what are the news and to distinguish the fake news and all that stuff. And to me, when you talk about discernment, let's not talk about the rhetorics that are being brought up, but it's about the the message or the content of the platform. So I think this is where everyone should be part of, especially the schools where the young, as part of your social responsibility. Remember, as you have mentioned about the values of CEU, social responsibility. It's about caring and exercising the rights of individual rights as enshrined in our Constitution. So, yun sa tingin ko, kailangan matulungan natin matulungan sila kung paano nga yung pagkilatis ng ano. So, let's not get involved into yung mga intervals of, mga sinasabing mga trolls, etc., but focus on the platform and what the person is presenting when it comes to the plan of governance once they get elected.
Thank you, Chairperson Bata. Another question, Ma'am Sharon.
Yes po, Honorable Bala, we have a question here from our student, political science student, Miss Alondra Santo Domingo.
Hello po, good morning po, Chairman Bala. My question po is, how do you keep the spirit of public service alive when you are mostly surrounded by people who do corrupt practices? How do you rise above the pressure po and temptation of not being one of them? Thank you po.
Thank you for the question. I think it's rooted in your from the time that you have developed your core values a person. If you're very strong in what you believe in, no matter what, and I must tell you that even my work in public service is not a bed of roses. There were also ups and downs. There were downs when there would be people would be spreading about who you are, that they don't even know you that much, and they are already trying to destroy your character. That you are doing this, you made a statement like this, but the context was not in the way I would have said it. So I believe that you stand all these adversities from within and from even external to the organization, because you know that what you are doing is the right thing, and you follow what your expected responsibilities and accountabilities, no matter what. Ang naalala ko pa ang sabi ng tatay ko, you have to choose your battle. Hindi pwedeng firefighting ka lang ng firefighting. Silence is the best defense in times of adversities, because the moment you open your mouth, sabi niya, lalong lumalaki yung sunog. And you are not a firefighter, anak, sabi niya. Kaya you choose your battle. For example, like me, sabi niya, I choose my battle. I joined to be a defender of our country. So I endured, but I did not complain. That's why I survived. So to me, that's the basic principle that I up to this time, and probably why I got to this position. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, mula lang ako ay pumunta ng public service, I never applied. Even when I got this position at Civil Service Commission, that was far from my dream, because I was still with the with ASEAN at that time when the vacancy was vacated, and the vacancy was already published. I didn't even know that there was a vacancy. And when I was a director, I was already being offered to become an undersecretary, but I said to my boss, bata pa naman ako, hindi po ako nagmamadali. Marami pa pong mas nakakatanda sa akin sa serbisyo, who are also as deserving as I am. So give it to them first. My time will come. Kaya ako naniniwala na in his time, you will get it. So yun yung sa akin na nagsimula nung pagkabata hanggang pag-aral mo sa sentro, hanggang yung interaction with people. You have to learn, to adjust to the situation. Kaya nga that's where I am rooted. Kahit ano pang mangyari, ito yung values will make you the person that you want to be.
Thank you, Chairperson Bala. So before we entertain another question, allow me to read to you the affirmation and greetings from the alumni and students of CEU. From Ma'am Tricana Ponce, congratulations, an epitome of pink-blooded Escolarian, led by the twin philosophy of science and virtue. Another is Ma'am Betty Lupeniera. Congratulations, Honorable Alicia Bala. We work together with PIA, where I worked before. Best regards po. Kaya, Madam President, Diyos ti Agnina, Chairperson Alicia Bala, agyaman kami unay. Maria Cecilia Lintagyu, congratulations. Kay Dr. Salonga, congratulations also. Arlene Sabdao, congratulations, ma'am, from the very inspiring journey in the government service. Go pink goes to mention. Thank you so much, Chairman Bala. You have inspired us to uphold science and virtue. Dr. Borabo, congrats, excellent speaker, true-blooded Escolarina. Kay Jess Parr, thank you, Chairperson Alicia De La Rosa Bala, for sharing your personal journey and experiences. From Dr. Maria Flor de Risa Anastasio, thank you so much, Dr. Bala. You're really an epitome of an outstanding Escolarian. Please continue to bring Ciencia y Virtud, not only to the Civil Service Commission, but to the whole country. Greetings from CEU Malolos. From Dr. Leia Aldesa, thank you, Dr. Alicia Bala, for a meaningful sharing in today's webinar. So, Ma'am Sharon?
Yes, meron pa po tayong question dito, Chairperson Bala. So, hinahanap ko lang, medyo dumami na yung chat. From one of our professors, si Mr. Riparip. Ito, sabi po niya, as a constitutionally mandated commission, how do you maintain and show independence from other commissions and branches of the government?
Okay. Thank you for that question. One, as I've said, our decisions, if a affected person is not happy with the decision that the commission make, they go to the court. Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. It's not something that you will brought to a regional trial court and other courts, lower courts, but it's the upper courts. So, and since I joined the commission, I must tell you that out of so many cases that are brought either to the Court of Appeals or Supreme Court, less than 2% are reversed. so that's where we are. That's one indicator that even the judiciary upholds the decision of the commission because of the laws and also the rules that the commission has promulgated. Second, when there are policies sometimes that the office of the president would issue, they would go to our office and ask what is our inputs to said executive order, especially when it will involve the bureaucracy. Thirdly, it was also during my time that the first time that the office of the president invited a chairperson to brief the newly appointed secretaries about the Civil Service Commission rules and regulations. And then fourth, when there are legislations that are being reviewed in both houses, whether at the House of Representatives or the Senate, they would solicit the inputs of the CSC pertaining to provisions of a proposed bill about appointments, qualification standards, about rules on termination, rules on movement, especially when there is a new organization that will be created out of 2 or 3 organizations merged together, and there will be people who will be affected. And then one good example is about the Mandanas law. Mandanas, it's not Mandanas law, but the Mandanas jurisprudence, when the Supreme Court said that the local government unit should have already a role in the implementation of frontline services of national government agencies. And the Civil Service Commission was invited by the executive task force that was created for the purpose of implementing the executive order to fully implement the full devolution of programs and services of national government agencies to ensure that those affected personnel would not be displaced, or what are the options that they need to take. So to me, that's how the other branches of government would look up to the constitutional nature of the agency as an independent body. So these are, and there are instances when there are a number of executive offices that would want us to sign a joint circular. Why? Because they see that when the commission issues memorandum circulars, it covers all: judiciary, national government agencies, local government units, even state universities and colleges are covered by our rules and regulations when it comes to policies on human resource management and organization development. So that's the sphere of influence of the commission as we relate to the entire bureaucracy.
Okay, thank you, Person Bal. Another question from Dr. Robles. Thank you so much for all your sharings, ma'am. May I ask, how do we empower young people to uphold these characters in this time of uncertainty, where sometimes due to survival instinct, they don't have the capacity to discern on what is right and wrong?
That's a very tough question, Doctor. Well, I think there must be a sustained support mechanism for which we should be able to consistently communicate to the youth, especially the students, relating it to CEU, the values. I mean, like the handles, how they should be able to live these values even in times of adversities. I know this is it's easier said than done, but we should be able to give them some guidelines on how to discern what are the best parameters for which to make their own decisions to take. I know it's kind of difficult talaga na yung compromising one's values, but if there is a consistency of behaviors and constant reminders, and the messaging is very important, because it is how you make your decisions based on your character, based on your values, that will spell the difference. We are at this time, because of COVID-19, there are just too many things that happen that sometimes we did not anticipate that it will affect the very fabric of the individual persons will be affected, because by virtue of one, the loss of job of loved ones, the loss of loved ones due to pandemic, and then the mental health that goes with it, like when we issued alternative work arrangements, when you can already work at home, there's a competing priorities between family responsibilities and work. So ang sabi namin, how do we, even our employees, we said it's not anymore balancing, but it's about work-life integration. We cannot totally say that there's a balance, because you are already faced with the concern that you have to teach your children at home, competing with your work requirement. And so therefore, this the concept that we are now introducing is the work-life integration, so that you can make the appropriate time to do all these things. So yun lang yung masasabi ko. I know it's kind of difficult, but it's the handle and the support mechanisms that should be in place anytime, anywhere. There must be people who can be tapped for the purpose. Kaya nga kami, we even tap other to support our mental health program in the bureaucracy. We also issued that. We tap organizations to offer services. And bago kong makalimutan, maraming salamat sa mga social workers and even CEU, Dr. Adelina, you may not be aware that we even tap one of your professors or faculty to undertake stress debriefing for our own people when there was an incident that happened. So thank you. So I think this is also part of this, is to strengthen the mental health of our young to make these decisions.
Okay. Para po sa ating huling tanong, our dear President is raising her hand po. Yes po, President Adelina.
May I ask a question? How should I say this? We always say that character or values cannot be taught. It must be caught.
Yeah.
So, how did CEU teach you to have all of these values? What is it? What is it in your experience in CEU that gave you or inspired in you all of these values that you now carry in your service? This is very important for us because somehow, although we keep on saying that values cannot be taught, the university must exert effort to do something about it and influence the character formation of our students. So, can you give us some advice?
Sa akin ho, Doc, parang simple lang. It's modeling. It's like walk the talk. makikita mo ho kasi kung that person who's teaching you how to behave and how to act, if you see them not in your classroom but you see them in their daily life, when you meet them in the corridor, when you get the opportunity to talk with them individually for consultation, ako yun ho sa akin yung tama po kayo, it's not about mouthing it. It's easy to say these are the values, valuing, accountability, etc. But it's about the consistency with what the institution tells you what to develop in yourself and how they are manifesting it to their students in terms of policies, in terms of the rules, and in terms of the way they would teach their children, they would teach their students. Kasi makita mo po yun eh. I mean, you can see if they talk about social responsibility and valuing of a person, taking time to speak to us when they see you in your lowest moment. Kasi like, there was an instance when we had a classmate and she was good, but then all of a sudden she stopped participating in any events. And so, of course, she was a good friend, so I tried to reach out. But I told my professor, baka ma'am, mas okay po kung kayong kausapin kasi syempre kaibigan ko yan. Siguro baka meron siyang pinagdadaanan na hindi niya may sabi sa akin kasi syempre there are things that sometimes they cannot share with their friends but they can share it with the professor or the faculty. So I think that really made me and then even ako hindi ko na makalimutan even sa administrative, one of the persons that I will never forget is Arsenia Francisco. I don't know whether she's still with you or she must have retired already, but while she was not directly involved in teaching, but when you see her in the lobby or when she meets you at the lobby or wherever, she would try to ask you, kumusta ka na, Idis? How are you? I mean, that kind of thing, that you are feel valued as students. Kasi there are times na merong mga teachers, di ba, na kahit na mag-good morning ka, hindi ka man lang pinapansin. Hindi man lang sana, di ba? I mean, even a smile can make the difference. So I think this is how I thought that was the best model. Is not mouthing it is one thing, but you have to manifest it. You have to manifest this. So yun lang po yung aking experience sa Central Escolar University.
Thank you.
Sabi ko nga, hindi ko narinig. Pero it's balance eh. Tuwan-tuwa ako yung social graces namin na subject kay Miss Dr. Ayuyao.
Yes.
Pati kay kay Father Halidin sa religion. Kaya lang, ang ko lang talaga, that was one subject that I got the lowest grade kasi hindi ako marunong magdasal ng Pilipino, ng Tagalog. Siyempre Ilocano po ako at saka English naman kasi ang prayers namin sa Ilocos. So, parang biglang nagpates siya. So, hindi ko talaga, wala akong zero po ako yung ama namin, tsaka yung Hail Mary at tsaka yung Glory be to the Father. Ay, zero talaga ako doon sa exam na yun. But otherwise, I thought it was a complete package of education of Central Escolar University. Kaya nga sabi ko, God must have plans for me to be there to a university I've never heard in my whole life at that time. But thanks God. I mean, you really made me who I am, and it aligns with my parents. I'm not making bola talaga po. I'm not making bola. Nag-align lang talaga yung values na tinuro ng aking mga magulang hanggang ako ay naging public servant.
Totoo na, hindi naman po kayo talaga bola, kayo po ay bala.
At saka hindi po ako doktor ha, hindi po ako nagdo-doctorate, hindi po ako nag-doktor.
Thank you very much. And Dean Rita Lucas just said in the chat how important social arts is. What we are trying to do now is to what modernize, you can say, our social arts, because social arts. So as society changes, we have to also keep up with that. Although we know that there are timeless values that even if we modernize in quotes our social arts, those values must remain.
Yeah.
Opo.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
that's what
I do believe in that, Doc, because even when you talk about the principles of management and leadership, they may have different titles now or names, but
Right.
the core essence of who and what make a leader or a manager effective is still there. Ang sabi ko nga, nung panahon ko, mga management by objectives, etc. Pero ngayon, highly effective na yung mga ibang mga servant leaders, etc. But I think, marami ng, it's the packaging itself, but it's still the very core that will come out of it. It's stated differently. Tama po kayo. Even in our desire to reach out as many of our public servants to upskill and reskill because of the requirements of the new times. Kasi nga hindi na kami pwedeng na lang kundi how best we can make it more interactive and more experiential ang kanilang discussions, kasi para hindi siya yung lang concepts but rather put into practice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President and Chairperson Bala. At this point, we will now proceed in the awarding of the Certificate of Appreciation to our guest speaker, the Honorable Alicia Arbala, Chairperson of the Civil Service Commission. May we request Dr. Lolita Di Pablo, the OIC of the School of Education, Liberal Arts, Music, and Social Work Alumni Chapter to award virtually the certificate and read the citation. And then afterward, to deliver the closing remarks of this webinar. Dr. Pablo.
Okay, please allow me to read the Certificate of Appreciation. CEU Alumni Foundation Incorporated with the SELAMS Alumni Chapter presents the Certificate of Appreciation to Honorable Alicia De La Rosa Bala for sharing her valuable time and expertise as a resource speaker in the webinar entitled Character Excellence in Government Service, Living Out the Core Values of CEU, held on October 9, 2021 via Zoom and Facebook Live. Signed, yours truly, the OIC President of the ELAMS Alumni Chapter, Dr. Maria Rita D. Lucas, Dean, CEU School of Education, Liberal Arts, Music, Social Work, and of course, Dr. Paz I. Lucido, the President of the CEU Alumni Foundation Incorporated. Thank you po. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And now, please allow me to give my closing message. We would like to express our deepest gratitude and appreciation to the CEU Administrative Council, headed by our President and Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Maria Cristina D. Padulina, our deans, department heads, faculty, staff, and students. And of course, to our dear alumni, headed by our beloved Dr. Paz I. Lucido, the President of the CEU Alumni Foundation Incorporated. And of course, the organizers for this webinar, our SELAMS Alumni Chapter Board of Directors. Marami pong salamat. And of course, with the guidance of our beloved Dean, Dr. Maria Rita D. Lucas. My message as a closing for this webinar: the year is almost over, and I find it significant that we are here together in an activity that echoes what is already embedded in our system, the core values, a timely exchange in preparation for the coming year. The past 1.5 years have not been encouraging. oftentimes depressing, because of the present pandemic, which totally affected our lives. But we have stood firm. We have kept things going, staying positive and productive. There is a strong evidence of inner strength, a strong foundation of goodness, humanness, and love. You will agree with me when I say that our twin philosophies, science and virtue, plays a critical role in what we are commissioned to do to serve humanity. I would like to reiterate the words of President Padulina. Science gives action to our virtues, and virtue gives direction to our science. The personal sharing of the lived experiences of Chairperson Bala in today's webinar is very inspiring. I would like to highlight 3 themes that she emphasized in her talk: balance, holism, and value-based practice, anchored and strength in character, consistency, and integrity. Thank you very much. Dear Chairperson Bala, we are truly, truly proud of you. Your leadership in public service is what we call principled leadership, which is very inspiring. And this is what we need today. We will always strive to collectively sustain character excellence in our personal and professional lives. Thank you so much, Chairperson Alicia De La Rosa Bala. Marami pong salamat and good afternoon. Good morning pa pala. Good morning po.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pablo. May we invite everyone to please open your cameras so we can have photo opportunity with our guest speaker, Honorable our Chairperson Bala.
Just continue smiling. 14 slides, 14 panels.
Second panel po. Ay na po.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I remind the participants that the evaluation link is already there at the chat box. You may fill it out.
Okay, to end our webinar, may we invite our participants to sing the CEU AFI hymn.
We are Escolarians, children of the brother, nurtured and developed in into this sincere, expert and professionals amidst humanity, around the nations in global community. Giving us you forever in our mind. Lessons that you taught us, try to be just and kind, to trust and love the Lord in everything we do. Always be up ready to cherish you. Long live Alma Mater, your son and daughter. By our path to glory, we pledge our loyalty. Long live Alma Mater, your son and daughter. Light our path to glory, we pledge our loyalty to see loyalty.
And that ends our webinar spearheaded by the CEU Alumni Foundation Incorporated with the School of Education, Liberal Arts, Music, Social Work Alumni Chapter. Thank you very much for your participation and happy weekend to all.
Mabuhay ka, mahal naming pamantasan.
Mabuhay!
Mabuhay,
Mabuhay
Alumni
ang
Foundation.
CEU.
Very much for
God bless.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Bless
Thank
us.
you, Dr. Paduli.